Here's what we know about Wednesday's mass shooting that took place at a Catholic school on the campus of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The attack happened during the back-to-school mass at the Annunciation Catholic Church, which sits next to a school for kids ages pre-K to 8th grade. 2 children, ages 8 and 10, were killed. Another 17 suffered gunshot wounds, and 14 of those were students. 2 of the injured are in critical condition. The shooter is being named as a 23-year-old Robin Westman. Our sister station in Minneapolis reports that Westman's mother worked at the school, and it's believed Westman had visited the school last week while the teachers prepared for the upcoming school year. A 5th grade student at the school describes what happened.
It was like right beside me. I was like 2 seats away from the stained glass windows. So they were like, the shots were like right next to me. The first one, I was like, what is that? I thought it was just something. Then when I heard it again, I just ran under the pew. And then I covered my head. My friend Victor like saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit. He's really brave, and I hope he's good in the hospital.
Following the news of the shooting, Atlanta Archbishop Gregory Hartmeyer, a former teacher himself, calling for common sense gun reform. He released a statement saying the murder of children worshiping at Mass is unspeakable. We cannot expect schools to become a fortress. We have to do more to protect our precious communities. Well, as was stated, the school had many young children there, and for kids who were there and many young people right here in Metro Atlanta, trying to understand this and try to make sense of it can be very, very difficult. Here to help us out with that is Laura Morse. She is a Metro Atlanta mental health care professional. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Chesley. It's good to be with you.
All right. And for parents that don't even know where to start, what's the first thing they should share with their kids about this news?
Yes. One thing is to let your children know that you're there for them and that you will do everything in your power to keep them safe. It's really important that they feel a sense of grounding and compassion and care during these times.
You know, we try to protect our children, and sometimes that means leaving out the details. How honest should we be when talking with our kids about the situation?
Yes, we can be honest with our children, but in an age-appropriate way. We can let them know that, yes, this tragedy occurred and that you cannot say that it won't necessarily happen closer to their own community, but that the school is working to keep you safe, that the parents are working to keep you safe, and give them just enough detail so that they can have information and learn how to process it in their own age-appropriate way.
Is there a line between protecting them and preparing them?
It can be. I think it depends on the way in which it's handled. So again, thinking about age-appropriate ways, this is where the school really can be helpful. There's a lot of information out there. There are upcoming drills that have to be completed by October 1st. So all public schools in the state of Georgia will have an intruder drill. So having those intruder drills practice after a tragic event nationally or even locally is sure to heighten anxiety for everybody involved. And so while parents may not know when that drill is going to happen, they can learn what to say or how to help their children process what they experience at school for their own protection and safety.
Yeah. How much of the conversation is different when you're talking to an 8-year-old versus a teenager?
Oh, it's pretty different. So when you're thinking about younger kids, you know, a lot of times people think, oh, they're in elementary school, but they still hear and know a lot. And especially in this age of social media, most of these children have been learned or raised to look at devices. And so you can't block and filter out all information. You'd be surprised how much young elementary kids know and experience. And so finding out what they know is by asking questions, open-ended questions, and then being patient to hear the answer, even if it surprises or maybe even shocks you, and then taking that information that they're offering and balancing it out with factual information or filling it in with, okay, now what could you do or what can we do as a family to keep you or help you feel safer?
Laura, let's talk about the trauma of this. Obviously, this could have long-term effects, right? Most people would probably think a church at school is a safe place, but something like this happens. How long does that last, and how do we help our kids get over that?
This is such an important question because an event that happens for some people, you may not see any quote unquote symptoms of stress or distress for quite some time, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to show up at some time. We're looking at, even with the school shooting in Appalachia last year, that students are really starting administrator having anxiety around what's going to happen on September 4th for them. And so this is where the mental health aspect of anybody's life needs to be taken seriously. And there are certain cues that younger children can give you if they are turning to a distress. They might have difficulty sleeping, changes in appetite, what we call in the profession as somatic symptoms, which is like, oh, I have a stomach ache or I have a headache, and swelling of anxiety. And so it is really important to just kind of keep an eye on what their kids are experiencing, any particular changes, but do not wait to get support or help for something extreme to occur. So you can talk to your pediatrician, and you can talk to the counselor at school, administrators, teachers, and you can also reach out to mental health professionals across the Atlanta metro area.
Then there's the lost, right? And maybe even seeing that, the kids were even witnessing something like that. Is it proper to keep them out of school, away from where this took place for a bit of a time before going back, or is that just something that needs to be measured and going forward from there?
I think sometimes it's a case-by-case situation, and sometimes people don't know how they're going to be impacted by being in the situation until they're actually in it, right? So if you had a child that went back to a school and then midway through the day they really experience a heightened anxiety, then what to do about it is really important, because when we're flooded with this emotion, it really makes it difficult to focus and to learn. So, we think about the logical and rational brain being needed for learning, but if you're having this emotional swell of anxiety and fear, then you're not going to be able to focus. And so taking the day off or a couple of days off just to reset and get re-prepared to go back into school, that needs to be done. I think that's something that a school system could support, and so could parents.
After an event like this, we often hear, calls for better mental health care. In your opinion, what does better actually mean?
It means a lot to me personally, but I believe it is starting very young and looking at social emotional learning that can be done in the school. It's having more resources for counseling and counseling services within the school. It is having affordable access. I mean, I could go on and on, but I don't know if you want me to get into that. But it really does mean taking it seriously at the least, because we're not just talking about young people now in a tragedy. We really want to prepare our children for a lifetime of resiliency and a lifetime of mental wellness. Mental health is part of our physical health, and we cannot separate it. And so the earlier we start this process with our kids, the happier and healthier they will be. And hopefully one day there will be less events such as this.
Yeah. Laura Morse, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks so much for your insight and your help in this particular situation.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care.